I mean, it's like you go to the X Games, right? And like you win. And it's like the 3 hours after you win, like the podium and this and that, it's like sick. And you're back at the hotel and you're seeing everyone in the lobby. You're like, yeah, sick. And then that night's sweet and you're celebrating. And then you wake up and you're like, word, well, that's over. Like on to the next thing. And like chasing the comp results just is kind of this never ending, like when's enough.
We have a guest, guys.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we do. Are we on?
We're on.
We're on. I mean,
We've been on. We started riding around when we found out Danny.
Danny.
Airplane mode?
It is on airplane mode.
Jeez, look at you.
Yeah.
Old professional.
I'm just trying to.
In your mushroom hat.
I know, isn't this cool? I bought this on Instagram.
Okay, good. It seems like you bought a lot on Instagram lately.
I did. I got that Rodman shirt too.
You should get off Instagram.
I always worry about like Instagram if you buy something, if it's going to show up or not.
Actually, one time I ordered this like really cheesy couples mug, one of those color changing ones, and I tried to get it because it was like a Valentine's Day ad that they sent me, and I was like, oh, sick, that's super easy. Like 6 weeks from Valentine's Day, like I'll upload this photo of me and my girlfriend, and I'll get this cool heat changing mug where it looks like a normal mug, but when you fill it up with hot water, the photo appears.
Sick.
Cute.
Yeah, except it didn't come for Valentine's Day, and then I was staying. It was like 6 months later, it showed up in just this ball. It looked like literally like narcotics was shipped, and like the people I was like staying at were like, "You got some package from China?" They're like, "Is that like fentanyl or something?" I'm like,
jeez.
No, it's my color changing mug.
Did
I
it
ordered
work?
6 months ago. Still have it. It's gorgeous. It's
Wow.
gorgeous. So I've had good luck.
That's good. So our guest today, Jossi Wells, out of Wanaka, New Zealand. 6 X Games medals, 1 gold, 3 silver, 2 bronze. Big silver guy over here.
That's right.
Represented New Zealand in the 2014 Olympics. World Superpipe Champion in 2008. It's crazy because your brother's now kind of the pipe guy.
Not anymore.
But he was.
He was, yeah.
Who was better out of the two of you?
Well, in the beginning,
You.
I was.
But then he got better?
Yeah, you got to be there.
He got good.
And then I bailed out of pipe because I was over it.
Yeah, crazy.
Went slope style and big air.
Danny kind of did both of them at the same time.
We all did. I mean, you know, we've had that conversation with a few athletes about how, like, we were lucky in our generation to be able to, like, actually compete in a few things. And now the schedules are so split between, like, big air, pipe, slope style that you kind of, like, can't really just show up to a mega weekend and get to do all 3.
Yeah, totally. I feel like when I grew up, that was just kind of part and parcel. Everyone was doing all 3 disciplines.
If you were a badass.
Well, yeah, it was like, you know, people were filming parts and they were competing in every discipline there was. And then as things got more and more specialized,
People got better.
Riders were like, okay, I'm just going to focus on this, just going to focus on that. So it became really difficult to try and like be
Kind
at the
of
top in
ruined
all of it.
everything.
Yeah, I mean,
All this
that's just the nature of it, though, eh?
specialization, like progression.
Progression ruins everything.
Yeah, thanks, Danny.
I'm not the one who overly progressed it. I just kind of was like the first people to do like 1080s back to back. That's
Yeah.
literally
That
the
complicated.
definition of.
Like what? Like it's hard?
What? I didn't
And then
think
he's like, oh, and then I'll do 1, and then I'll do 2.
no one was doing it. I was like, why is no one doing this? All right.
Crazy. You actually, yeah, wow. You fucked everybody, Dan.
But I believe that within progression, especially like in our sports of skiing and snowboarding, there's a big major like regression, and like style becomes more important than what is just like spinning to win or whatever, right? And people start to view these other tricks again as like holy grails, right? Like cool corked 540s and 360s can actually like look way cooler now because people are spinning so much that a lot of people who watch it, even really good riders, don't know what they're doing.
Hang on. Oh, I don't know what they're doing.
No.
I don't think I could call a snowboard. I couldn't call there's no way I could legitimately call a slope contest run.
Not without training.
I mean, it's tough. I did ski big air for like, I don't know, 15 years.
Yeah.
And watching the last Olympics ski big air, I was like struggling knowing what tricks they were doing. And I had been out of the game for like 3 years. I was like, damn. It's getting crazy.
And you probably brought some big rotation into there.
Totally. I mean,
Yeah, but then I feel like you reeled it back too. Like you're like kind of like the style master.
Well, I mean, I think like, the essence of these sports, kind of across the board, style and individuality has always been such an important factor. And at least it was for me, because the people that I grew up looking up to, that it was clear that was their path, you know what I mean? And that's always been tough if you're doing the contest scene and you're trying to like obviously get good results and put down your best runs, and you're at the end of the day you're kind of skiing for a panel of judges, so you can't do exactly, I mean, you can do what you want to do, but if you want to end up on the top of the podium, there's like sort of a loose formula on how to get there. So that's kind of the age-old battle of like the competitive action sports athlete, where like, it's like your art form, but then it's being judged in like this scientific box, and you're like trying to fit into it. It's weird.
It's such a crazy point to say, because we're there at that point where it's the Olympics are around every 4 years, so it gets this like international eyeballs. More so, than once a year, the core people on X Games or whatever kind of major other events there are. But like educating, I think it's hard to educate people that aren't in the sport now, because it is like that. It's what they're doing. Like us three here, would all, kind of look at ourselves as verified and knowing what we know within our industry. But then again, it goes back to being a judged sport. So it's like what you're doing is different to what the other guy's doing. So trying to like showcase or trying to tell people that don't know anything about it that will know the reason why this person won is because he did this, this, and this. But really it goes back to the judge's opinion, which isn't always right either.
I mean, yeah, that's the age-old battle that, if you're going to take up a career in professional action sports, you're going to have to get comfortable with the fact that like sometimes you're going to get hooked up with scores and sometimes you're going to get screwed over, and you just have to stay level through like all of it. You can't be like too gassed when you've won when you maybe shouldn't have. You shouldn't be too bummed when you get screwed over. It's like you've just got to become pretty level and like just show up, do the best that you can, and be like, I learned to just focus on my riding and try to be hyped on my riding. And then if I was hyped on my riding, whatever else was like a bonus, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Where do you think, like, and this is like kind of now, like, like I feel like you've gone into that second stage of your career per se, or whatever that kind of next, what's been the most exciting part about that? Like not having to be like, shit, man, I got to go and buckle in and do some 1080s or 1260s or 16, whatever they are, just to freaking, Are you happy not waking up and having to focus on that?
I mean, the best part's probably like not having to show up to like 7:30 in the morning practices in the slope style course when it's still dark. You've got finals coming up in like half an hour, That's always pretty loose. But I think for me, my favorite part about moving into the film realm is like getting to have complete control over like when and where I perform, and also like having complete creative control of how your writing is being presented. You know what I mean? When you're at a contest, you're kind of you're trying to add some individual flavor, but you're also trying to like complete the formula to get on the podium. Whereas with the film side, you have complete control over the music, the editing, the spot choice, how you build the jump, like what crew you're with and getting to hit it. And I really learned to enjoy like the entire process of a season of like being out in the backcountry with the homies, enjoying like every moment it takes to like make that film at the end of the year. Whereas like with competing, it's like it can become very like result focused or like outcome focused. And then I feel like on the other side with the filming, it's like the journey. Peace be the journey.
Yeah.
And also it's like you're saying with the event focus, just kind of rolling through that season. It's like there's an event the next weekend, and it kind of like sometimes washes away what happened the weekend before, even if you had a great weekend or a bad weekend. And I think one thing that really stands out is when you get to spend that whole time, a year filming with a crew, and you're like building up this whole video part and video, and then you get to release it at the end of the year, because then it's like all eyes, get to watch it at the same time. And it has such a like meaningful, like language to that sport, right? Where it's like everyone gets to watch it and they're like, all right, next winter, like I'm going to do like this, what Jossi did. And like, I'm going to make it my own by maybe adding like a 180 or taking a 180 off, you know? And I think that's like it's huge to be able to work on something for so long and then just like get to release it.
Totally. It's such a fulfilling feeling. I mean, it's like you go to the X Games, right? And like you win and it's like the 3 hours after you win, like the podium and this and that, it's like sick, and you're back at the hotel and you're seeing everyone in the lobby, you're like, yeah, sick. And then that night's sweet and you're celebrating, and then you wake up and you're like, word, well, that's over. Like on to the next thing. And like chasing the comp results just is kind of this never ending, like when's enough. And it was an interesting time when I decided I was going to bail from competing and move into the film route. And I'm like, damn, like right now I have to be okay with the fact that I am not going to have a chance to win another X Games medal because I'm choosing to go a different path. And that, when your whole like life has been based around like that being the pinnacle every year of what you're working towards, to then be like step away from it was like a super weird feeling to be comfortable with. And as soon as I became comfortable with that, it was like this kind of weight was lifted off, like, oh, okay, so like now my whole winter can be focused on every day that I'm out there getting to pursue my passion with the people I love and working towards a common goal. It's like super dope. But yeah, the competition thing is like, it's such I love competition. I've done it, you know, for a long, long period of my life, and it's brought me so much. But stepping away from it was also like really fulfilling too.
I love the idea. No, but I love the idea that not only like you know the sport inside and out. So when you're producing something, you can produce it from the eyes of a skier or snowboarder. Like, you know what I mean? You can tell always if there's someone that's inauthentic in making anything. You're like, they don't really know what they're doing. But like, since you've been there, you know the angles to do and like what you'd want to see as a rider and like what would help you, I think, as a skier, or, you know, like the younger you know, it's like you're creating something for the youth of what you were. So it's automatically just an advantage.
Yeah, totally. I mean, being able to be out in the backcountry and have like a team of filmers and a team of riders, and we're all working towards this like common goal, and you have a lot of time to work on this stuff, right? And so it's like you just have this amazing opportunity to craft exactly what you want and put the time into making it exactly how you want. And sometimes when you're competing, it's like so on the fly and you're adapting to runs, and you may, you know, like say, for instance, like the year that I won X Games slopestyle, like there's a couple tricks in there that I'm like, oh, they like aren't really that lit, but it was the best on the day at the time. And so you look back and you're like, man, like I see that run, I'm like, oh, I wish I did that a little better or that a little better. Whereas in the film side, you can be like, oh, I'll just try it again. I'll get it a little better. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I think like both sides of the sport are super amazing. It is cool that we as athletes have the ability to like experience both sides of our industry. And that was always kind of the goal as a kid, was like, all right, I'm going to do the comps as long as I can. And then when I feel like it's time to switch, I'll go into the film route.
I like that you're talking there about, you know, everyone reaching a common goal. And I think the difference between like filming and competing is that common goal is you have a team, your filmers, your photographers, whoever else is there, part of it. And you guys aren't in that together. That's like a journey that you guys are in. And yeah, you talk about like the 5:30 or the having to ski at a final or an icy thing, but it's the same, you know, objective. There's a goal that, you know, the goal is to go out and compete and win. And the goal is to go out and film an amazing video part. But that takes a whole season to do that correctly. Sometimes more.
Oh, I mean, it's way harder work making a film.
Way harder.
Filming a video part than it is like contests. Like when you switch, you're like, oh, this is gonna be sick. It's gonna be way more relaxing. I don't have the pressure of the final run. Like it's all on your shoulders. I'm gonna like step away from that. It's gonna be sick. And then all of a sudden you're like, damn, dude, I'm getting up at like 4:30. Yeah. I'm like gonna have to learn how to ride a snowmobile. I'm gonna be shoveling all day.
Snowmobiling was crazy.
2 days building a jump, and then I'm gonna ragdoll 10 times, and then I'm gonna get one clip, and you're like, wow.
That's a week in the life.
Yeah,
of, you know,
hard work, you know, but it's really fulfilling work too. So, I mean, you know, yeah, moving away from contests, it's definitely not more mellow. It like the work intensity ramps up
But it's very like you have to like self-driven, right? I mean, obviously you're out there and you're really doing the trick that's in your mind or off this jump, whatever is the best you can do or however you built it. But it's really for like you and maybe the filmer. That was the hard part for me to wrap my head around, where I was like, I don't even really like this filmer today. Like, do I really like why am I out here snowboarding if this guy is going to do like a trick?
Couple people and I know who one of them is.
And the guy, like, he may not even be impressed or whatever. Maybe he'll miss it. It's on 16 millimeter at this time, so you can't even really watch it for months.
Did you film much on 16? Or was that you were a little bit after that?
After that, yeah.
The first movies that we did with Slater and those guys, it was all on 16, and you never knew. They never knew like what shots they got or they didn't until the end of the season.
Oh no.
That'd be so brutal. I get the film back and be like, wow, the make is not.
That's how it used to go down.
Yeah, it was definitely like you have to find it within you, and I think. But at the end of the year, being able to tour a video around, and I mean, maybe speak a little to that, because that's probably one of the funner things you can do is like a real video premiere tour, right?
Totally. I mean, I got a little like unlucky, to be honest, because when I started making films a few years ago, it was kind of just before COVID had kicked off. And so we started got these films done, and then we couldn't tour them around the world. I'm like, wait, so like the best part about making a film, we can't cruise around and hang out with everyone and show everyone. Like
you won X Games every night.
Yeah.
You get to celebrate with everyone every night you show it for the work you did the whole year before.
You were stuck.
So those ones were
you were stuck in New Zealand that whole time, huh?
I came out and did X Games Knuckle Huck, and because I was able to get in through Homeland Security for X Games, I was like, word, I'm staying for 3 months. And so I stayed, and we filmed another film, and then I did come out the year after. So I did these like short kind of trips during that.
Wait, you had to go through Homeland Security to get clearance to leave New Zealand?
To come into the US.
Wow.
Yeah. So ESPN, gave them all the information or whatever. Yeah. But it was crazy too, going back home to New Zealand after. I had to do 2 weeks locked in a hotel room when I landed in Auckland.
Crazy.
That was loose.
It's weird because you guys are, going back to this, your dad was ski patrol at Cardrona. Your mom, is this correct, worked child care center? Mm-hmm. And you started ski racing at 2.
I started skiing at 2.
Yeah.
And then I started ski racing at about age 7.
And then, so there's Byron, Bo, and Jackson. Yep. There's 4 of you.
There's 4 of us.
Jeez.
Yeah.
And Bruce. Bruce is the dad. He's a legend.
Bruce is your dad. I've met Bruce. I've smoked a cigarette with him.
Probably several.
That's a real ski family. And like from the heart of New Zealand.
We about it.
Is there no more core ski family in I was gonna say New Zealand
world?
In skiing?
I mean, there's a few
Euro families.
I mean, you got the O'Lennox OG ski family.
Yep.
And then even like within Wanaka, we have the Porteous family and the Billis family, and coming up now the Harrington family. Like there's these families within Wanaka. There's
that's crazy for snowboarding. Beyond Linus and Eric, their dad was ski patrol at Brighton.
Yeah.
Now I think Beyond does ski patrol there now too. I could be wrong if I said that incorrectly, but I think I saw him following his dad's footsteps, something weird like that. Maybe I'm fucking off with the rockers, but their father was definitely ski patrol. That's cool. Like that's real ski talk.
Yeah, sick. I mean, mum and dad from the Central Coast over in Oz, and they moved to Wanaka to work at Cardrona. And then after a couple seasons, when they were going to start a family, they were like, "Oh, Wanaka would be a mean place to raise a family at."
Yeah, so still today.
They posted up, and Dad was running ski patrol. Mum was working up there as well. And then once we were school age, Mum started homeschooling us, and so we would go up the hill with Dad, shred for the day, come home, do our schoolwork at night. If we didn't do our schoolwork at night, we couldn't go up the next day.
Yeah, that's good incentive.
Mum kind of like instilled this intrinsic motivation that kind of worked throughout the rest of the school years. So we just had this like amazing opportunity to spend a lot of time on snow, and by the age of 13 and 11, Byron and myself went to Italy for our first like Northern Hemisphere season away. We did 3 months.
Where in Italy?
We're in a place called Prato Nervoso.
He's a homeowner in Italy now.
Oh, do you know
Working on
Prato?
it. Working on it.
It's like an hour from Torino.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I know Torino well.
Oh, yeah, that's where you got an Olympic medal.
That's right.
Let's
Dan,
go.
first Olympic silver medal. Dude,
But,
bring back some good memories, Dan.
Yeah, really good memories. I wish I could remember them. But talking about New Zealand, this is like what I'm kind of interested about because, I feel like when you grew up, and one thing I wanted to say real quick about the ski patrol lifestyle, I feel like all the parents who are listening, any ski resort is like the most perfect daycare for a kid without hiring babysitters. You just get them a season's pass and then they have like ski patrol, lifties. They're pretty much taken care of from maybe 7 or 8 years on. But what was the scene like in New Zealand? Because
Just roll those moms out there listening.
I'm just trying to save
daycare.
them money as far as like the resorts.
Duly noted.
Duly noted. But like
Brittney needs a daycare system.
I do. Just put a snowboard on a kid and just let him go and
That's
they'll
what I'm
figure it out.
saying.
She's super into snowboarding. Actually,
Nice.
she does. Park City's her local.
That is my local.
It's a good spot.
Her outfits on point.
It's about the outfit.
Yeah.
He knows.
I know.
This guy's more on point than
I'm
anyone
about
out there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's like the man in black. This guy's got a style unlike many other. But I feel like there really wasn't many people before you like kind of pushing the way into like the scope of New Zealand, right? In Australia. Like I feel when I started competing, the scene was obviously there and there's a really strong snow culture. But it wasn't like there was many names like in the competitive scenes in skiing and snowboarding in New Zealand and Australia at that time.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a crew of guys that I grew up skiing with and looking up to that were older than me, and it was a really healthy freeski scene. There used to be an event in Wanaka called the Rip Curl World Heli Challenge.
Gnarliest competition ever. It used to be on the
Yeah.
regular news in Australia.
Wait, heli
Savage.
challenge.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
helicopter
All
dropping.
heli
Gnarly.
access, ski and snowboard, like big mountain freestyle event that Tony Harrington would put on. And so Wanaka had always kind of been, from that point onwards, Wanaka had been a bit of a kind of hub for these kind of new sports, snowboarding and free skiing, these new sports that were kind of coming through. So there was definitely crew around New Zealand, Wanaka, Queenstown specifically, that were really crushing. And I looked up to a lot of guys that were really amazing. And some of them would head overseas and do winters in Whistler and here and there. And so those guys like really pushed me and who I was looking up to when I was really young. And then it was like really quickly I started coming over to the US for winters.
How old were you
in
when you
Park
first
City.
started coming over here?
I was 14 my first trip over
Yep.
here. And then, I don't know, like a couple years in, then I was at X Games at 16.
Crazy.
And then kind of like blew it and blew my collarbone to pieces. And then like the next season is when I got my first medal. And it all like happened super quick. It was like I was looking up to all these guys. I was like trying to learn all these tricks. And then all of a sudden, like all I was focused on was like getting good at skiing and learning how to do tricks. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you just win comps by doing the tricks really well. And
Yeah.
then it all started clicking, right? And you just get in this flow state where you're like, you almost get this green light. You're like, oh, I can do it. Okay, well, I'm going to do it then. And yeah, it all just happened so quick. It was like from 1 year I was asking Simon Dumont for his autograph. And then the next year I was like next to him at a signing.
Wild.
Trying to figure out my signature on people's posters, like trying a different one every time. Like, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one.
That's wild.
And did you grow up watching X Games? Like, was that a goal when you were in New Zealand, or was it
Totally.
kind of...
Yeah. I mean, that's like, that was the dream when I was younger. Being from New Zealand, like we're a pretty long way away from where the scene was and anything going on. So like, we would get the ski and snowboard films, 6 months after they would come out over here or something, or you'd hear someone that had a VHS of like the latest one and go over to the house and check that out. And then I didn't have Sky Sport, like New Zealand.
They got three
cable, whatever.
channels over there.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
had 3
To like
channels.
to watch X Games. So we would find like copies of the X Games that were like super old. Like I was never like tuned in live, but I knew that like X Games was the spot where it all went down. And then obviously once I came over here at 14, then I started to see it in like real life. I was like, okay, sweet, like that's the goal.
It's crazy what you said though too, like of there being locals. Like some came over, same as Australia, but there are definitely some local snowboarders and skiers from New Zealand and Australia that never made it over here that fucking rip.
Oh yeah, big
You
time,
know?
big time.
Yeah.
I mean, the facilities down south have been so good for so long. I mean, especially with Snowpark, you know, what Frank Wells did down there with Sam, and they made basically the best place in the world to ride park and pipe.
That's
And
crazy,
It
right?
was in my backyard. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
And that's Travis Rice kind of at the helm too.
Totally.
Of
He
like,
came down and they just blew it up. Like they brought with them like all the media, all the attention,
Everything.
and they had all the equipment to make the best features. And all of a sudden, like 40 minutes from my house was like the most poppin' place in all of ski and snowboard.
didn't
yeah,
you
it
make
was
the
a destination.
Didn't
for
you make
sure.
the news down there, Dad?
Couple times, Dingo. But before,
How did that happen?
Hang on, let's not-
Hold on. Don't skate over that.
Didn't you try and drive the van up to the mountain?
yeah, I had a life goal, and you know, everyone's got to have crazy goals. You
Yeah.
know, and for me,
Big audacious goal, bro.
one of my dreams was like going to a foreign country and buying a van and just like having a van. That was one of my goals.
And then
And then, well, then it got a little
Sometimes
crazy
goals extend,
with the
Brittney.
van, and there was a little misscheduling of events where I was supposed to drive a van to the mountain, and they were going to tow it up to the half pipe or the jump, and we were going to jump over it. And I just fell in love with driving down there in New Zealand. And you put chains on the tires, and you should have seen this 1985 Toyota with chains make it all the way to the top of Cadrona
oh my god.
on a groomed run.
At 9:15 a.m. when the
It
mountain's
was
open and people are
8:35.
skiing
It
down.
had only been open for 5 minutes.
And my dad, being the head of ski patrol at the time,
He was?
who had to deal with Danny.
What did you
That's
say?
when they became boys.
Well, they knew about the shoot, but obviously I drove like there's a line, invisible line that I obviously crossed.
Yeah, like the snow.
Yeah, the
Like
park-
the actual
street to
open
the
ski
snow.
resort.
It was the lodge, and I crossed that line and went really far up. And then when I got off of the groom trail, that's where the van hit a soft spot and sunk. And if I didn't go off trail, I would have been fine. Anyways, it cost me a lot of money. Not the van. The van only cost $900, but the ticket, the lawyer, the fines, everything was like it was like $12,000 invested.
Did
into
you get
that.
the shot?
$12,000. Didn't even probably get
Well,
the shot.
I didn't get the shot. I got a mug shot for that. But
Yeah. It was on
but
the news in Australia. My dad sent me.
multiple times.
Like this-
But what was really cool
American,
about
oh,
Sam
no.
and Frank Wells was literally 2 days later they let me drive the van all over Snow Park however I wanted.
The van became famous.
The van became pretty famous. Yeah,
That thing was all spray painted up.
it was cool. It had shark's teeth on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a sight just rolling around little Wanaka. Probably like 5,000 people living in Wanaka at the time.
It's crazy for you. Like, I did a Junior Worlds competition there. Me and Danny may or may not have hooked up with Team New Zealand. Remember?
Mitch Brown, maybe. Was that like.
Are you saying we made out with the same chick, or we
Yeah.
hooked up?
No, we made
Are you
it.
saying we've been dating that long? It's a long relationship we're in.
We have been dating a long time. We're up over 20 years, dude.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But the Wanaka scene is special, and it's like
yeah.
if anyone's into skiing, snowboarding, and just sightseeing in general, it's definitely like one of the coolest places in the world.
What about this now? You have the Wells Invitational. You have your event there every year now. After everything it went through, there was, obviously when you grew up there, it was small, and then it became like the hub of snowboarding and skiing, just in general, action sports. Ken Block's fucking down there. Isn't that where he jumped the car?
Yeah.
Like some pretty gnarly
He got
shit
away
happened.
with it. He never got charged.
You paved the way.
I paved the way.
You
You're
literally.
right. I think he saw it and went, "Oh wait, I could do this better."
You walked so he could run.
Yeah. yeah. We have to look on the timeline of whether he did it first or not. But he
think
definitely
he did.
He definitely did.
He inspired me.
But then it became like it became bigger than Mount Hood ever was. It became bigger than any any summer thing in Europe, any bigger than Whistler, it became like if you were a pro skier or snowboarder in the summertime, you were in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And they had the best park set up. They had the whole. Afterwards, was there a bit of a down? Like, was a bit of a like it kind of reclused?
I don't really think so. I mean, like, Cardrona really stepped up once Snowpark kind of folded. Cardrona stepped up their park and like started making their offering really amazing as far as the park and pipes go. And then we were already on the map down there, so people were still like, especially with the sports becoming more and more specialized and people needing to ride more and more and more. People just kept migrating, dude. And there's been a flood of people from national teams to people just coming down to like shoot some video, get out in the helis into the Southern Alps there, whatever. Like, it's become such a hub for that kind of October, September time when, the summer camps over here are kind of wrapped up. The early season stuff in Europe isn't popping yet. And so we've kind of got this time down in New Zealand where like, if you want to ride on snow, this is like where it's happening.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I want to visit.
What would you say, like, if there was like a shred pilgrimage you would take besides just obviously I know the Wanaka area, but there's probably 2 or 3 of the other resorts or club fields.
Totally. I mean, the riding in New Zealand is super unique. Like, you've been a lot of times. You don't go there for neck deep powder, but you go there for a great experience.
No neck deep powder?
Definitely not.
No, not even like Arthur's Pass.
I mean, we get good snow, but because it's a little island, our snow pack.
Is it wet?
It depending on the storm, but it changes quickly because of like the humidity there and stuff. So like, it snows a couple of days after the storm, it's popping, and then the snow kind of starts to change. So throughout New Zealand, there's a bunch of amazing resorts. You go up into Canterbury, and there's what they call the club fields up there, and they're all these kind of, they're not private fields like you go buy lift tickets, but it's a club that runs them, and they've got these rope tows that are like running on old tractors from the 60s, and it's this really, really authentic ski culture that I love to go ski up there. It's pretty rad. Going to try to spend a lot more time up there this season with my brothers. There's some pretty amazing terrain. Even in the North Island up at Ruapehu. But again, because it's on an island, and especially the North Island's pretty flat, except for Ruapehu's massive volcano sticking out. So that cops a lot of weather.
You've got like really active volcanoes there too.
Yeah, I mean, I think the last time that Ruapehu exploded was maybe 95, something like that.
Isn't there a documentary on one that just exploded?
Oh yeah, the white.
I saw that, the tourist one.
Holy cow.
Yeah. That one's loose.
I don't want to create a battle or anything, but I'm going to throw the knife in the ring. And why is it that New Zealand has such a like strong park scene, and I feel like Australia just like doesn't?
Easy, dude. Our mountains are kind of flat. We're pipe dogs.
Yeah, I mean, I think like
or border cross. We're really fast.
Riding in Oz is dope. Like,
but
again, it's like springtime all season.
It's like springtime all season. It's very damp and like wet. You don't get fluffy powder. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna get like that kind of snow style, you got to get it in that day, like Threadbow Perisher. But yeah,
they're both unique. They got their own offering.
These guys are a little gnarlier. We get more Olympic medals than they do. They don't get
I don't
many.
know about that anymore.
I'm just reading
I don't know
that
about that
Zoe got her first Olympic medal for New Zealand in 2018.
Yep.
And then she got a bunch of golds in 2022.
Yeah.
What was she at your event last year? Mm-hmm. We'll pull it up in there'll be a video pop up. What did she did her first switch?
She did her first
switchback 10, I think, right?
It was either a switchback 12 double or a forward back 12 double.
I think it was switched.
Was it switch?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was lit. She was crushing so hard.
She's so gnarly.
Dude, it's crazy.
She is so gnarly how she rides.
Bro, watching her at natural selection was insane. She just, anything that she touches, I feel like she's got such a good riding fundamental like baseline of knowing how to ride a snowboard, and then has her unique style that paired with like her absolute fearlessness is like the crazy combo. She's unstoppable.
Yeah.
It's really cool. I mean, I felt like I got pretty good at slope style or jumping in my day, but to watch what the females are doing now, it's like tricks that I'd never even dreamed of doing. And they're like doing on the regular. You're like, wow.
Totally. I mean, I think across ski and snowboard, women's big air for those two events are my favorite events at X Games right now. I think they're the most exciting. The progression is like very exciting, and you can still kind of understand what they're doing.
Where's it go?
Exactly. Like that looked good.
But I want to understand, the difference. Like if female versus male, what is the difference in your opinion of their style? Like how is it different? Or why? So many questions.
Not like the style. What he's saying is like when we enjoy watching it is because it's like tricks we still understand.
You can kind of conceive
and you relate
of the trick like
to them.
Yeah, I mean, like the women in the big air for ski and snowboard now. I mean, at least on the ski side, they're doing tricks that I was doing when I was doing big air, and now they're like surpassing that. So to watch Megan this year do her triple, I'm like, that's loose. I did that once word, and then I didn't do it again.
Yeah.
And she's like just going back to back to back at X Games.
But put it this way, like you'll watch like a Mark McMorris run or a Max Perot, and literally or Cleveland, they take off the lip, and you do this, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, because you're just watching them rotate. You're not even counting the spinning.
You're just saying that women's freestyle in general is just growing, and they're just getting to this point. Yeah,
they're on like this awesome trajectory where like they're all progressing each other, and they're all like one-upping each other at these contests, and so so the progression is like
that's dope.
Super rapid and really exciting.
Right.
And then on the men's side, I mean, it's just as exciting. It's insane, but it is harder to. They're so good now, and they're doing so many rotations that it's like it's very hard to differentiate like what's
different.
You know what I mean?
A lot of the same tricks on the guys, and the women are really like catapulting into these bigger, more tech tricks at a really cool level.
That's
where
incredible.
a lot of the guys have kind of like not maxed out, but they're like maybe adding a 180 or a little unique grab. And on the women's side, it's like wow, like making history almost like every other event.
That's it.
Don't worry. Soon us old heads will be watching the girls, and we won't know what they're doing either. So
yeah, but my
just
question, 100%. My question is, where does it end? Or does it not end? I'm confused on where we're going.
It's tricky because there's no finish line. Really, it's not a race.
It's a crazy
event.
I've got asked that question quite a lot. I think it's something that everybody that's interested in our sports, like,
because it's not going to stop, right? Like if you watch R. Willie, the BMX kid from Australia, the dude is a freak, absolute fucking freak. And you watch his progression on what he's doing and the level, and he's got this ramp and this airbag, and he can see it in his mind, and then he can take it to the airbag, and then he'll bring it to like the concrete or the dirt, whatever he brings it to. And I'm like watching this guy. And this is more of an overall for action sports, but I think he's kind of the leader right now. I would say, like, correct me if I'm wrong, and like maybe we can name a skier or a snowboarder that's equivalent to that. You look at McMorris or Cleveland or Red or
Elaine Gu.
Yeah, I guess so.
Throwing in some skiers who are doing some boss.
I'd say Burke Rude on the ski men's side. Like, I think the answer to your question is like I think that the tricks are just going to become more and more refined, because like as far as the spins and the grabs go, it does feel like for the size of the jumps and the way that the formats are set up and stuff, it feels like it's kind of at this point where like, are they really going to add another 180? Are they really going to add another flip? I don't know. Like there's so many already, but the way that they're done is just going to become more and more refined. And you watch somebody like Burke Rude ski, and that dude is straight refined.
Right.
Like the way that he
does it. They're refining Dusty Hendrickson on a snowboard, refining the coolness of it and making it look cool.
Yeah.
In a different way. It's
crazy. The style aspect is it's basically the essence of these sports, and so I think like as the technicality is like almost getting kind of maxed, like it's going to be a really cool time the next like 5 years or so, because what's gonna win competitions is the like refinement and the individual flair and style that's done with them, almost more so than like in the past, kind of. And that's a tricky job to do when you're spinning like 5 times.
You can't go any higher out of the half pipe now, right? Like there's a like
I don't know. Do you see a umu?
Yeah, I mean, I usually And Kaiju definitely
Yeah,
set
for
the
sure.
bar very high.
But even I
Scotty James, another Australian.
Yeah.
Valentino.
Valentino's loose. I love watching that kid ride. Out of his mind. Scotty, I mean, and now Scotty's geared in. Like, he's ready. You know, he's going for his, potentially third Olympic medal. He wants gold. He's like, I'm going for it. But he's like, fuck, I'm the oldest I've ever been against the gnarliest competition I've ever been.
Yeah.
It's only getting harder for him as he goes. I even want to go back to, like, you two, when you originally did the back-to-back 10s and made it look cool. That was, what, 2002? 2001?
2002.
And then for you, like, you went from, being, like, on the era of doubles, and now there's triples. You're like, I did one triple and I was, out. And then for you, like, you were the era of the back-to-back 10s, and then it went to doubles, and that was at the end of your career, and you're like, fuck me, like, go on, kids, fuck that, I'm out of here.
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't have, as like it's progressed, now there's been so much progression within training opportunities, and now we have airbags, and now we have foam pits, and now you have these safer ways to learn tricks. But the fact is, it's pretty crazy that these people are doing tricks into like an airbag or a foam pit 50, 60 times before they ever go to snow. And they're just sitting there like visualizing, like, that's how it's going to go. That's how it's going to go. And then like go to try it, which is pretty scary, So there's definitely a safer way to learn some of these bigger things, but it's also pushing people into this level that makes it so scary.
Totally. I mean, I think if you look back on the trajectory of the sports, like there's these kind of defined progression points where back-to-back switch 1080s in slopestyle was like, that's right when I was kind of right in the mix. That's how I got my first X Games medal, was being able to do that, because there was only a few of us at the time. And then it moved into the double corks, and it's like every time you go into that next thing, it's like, well, the first ones aren't done super, super well. And you're like, oh man, doubles, like there's no way that they could be stylish. And then it's like you give it a bit of time and people refine it, and then all of a sudden, like, doubles are the rad thing because now people are doing triples and everyone wants to see a stylish double. And now it's in this realm where like people are doing triple corks, but they're also doing like double cork 2100s.
Crazy.
And it's nuts. But with these training opportunities, like that's given rise to the ability for these riders to be able to hone these crazy rotations in without the risk of just like hucking on snow all the time. And so I think as we go forward, you're just going to see these tricks get more and more refined. Like I was saying before, when there was a couple of tricks in my X Games run in 2016 that I was like, that wasn't so great. Like, you're not going to see people on podiums with like little bobbles like that. You know what I mean? It's just, it's going to become more and more and more refined till like, I mean, I don't know. You watch Burke Rood, and the dude, it looks like he's never going to crash or never do a bobble. Like, he's just so on point. And he's setting the bar right now, so everyone's just going to catch up. And then there's going to be the next kid come around, and whatever that is, he's going to push that next phase. Like, I don't know what that looks like right now, but I think if you look back on old footage of X Games all the way through, like, the one common denominator is like, there's more spins and stuff, but it's like the refinement of the way that it's done all the way through. Whether that's like skateboarding, BMX, FMX, snowboard, ski, like, everything's just become more and more refined. Equipment gets better, training facilities get better. It's sick.
Do you think that the knuckle huck had so much success in skiing and snowboarding because it's easier for the everyday person to understand? What?
I think there's a
question for a friend.
I think there's a mix
For
of
me,
that.
he's asking it for me.
I think there's a mix of that, plus the fact that it gives the riders an opportunity to really express their individual taste with their skiing. Because right now, there's been 4 years of it, maybe 5. Like,
Yeah.
it's pretty fresh, right? And so there isn't.
It's not in the Olympics yet.
Yeah.
But it probably will be soon.
Plus the way they're judging, like, it's not a score every run, and so they just award who they reckon ripped the hardest at the end of it. And so it's judged on overall impression. But right now, there's no formula on how to win it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can't show up to Knucklehuck and be like, all right, I know that if I hit this trick, and this trick, that's going to get me on the podium. It's like, it's more this free-flowing thing where, like, the riders are all, you got a rough idea of what you want to do, but then when the session starts popping off and you see people like, it becomes this like adapting thing where like, oh, okay, I need to do this, or I think I could probably do this, and old mate just did this, so I'm going to try and huck this new thing I've never tried. But I think it's popular because a lot of the people that like watching these sports like to watch them because of the individual people, you know, the style and the
That's
flavor.
why it's
that
always
each
been
person,
like that.
Totally.
You know, growing up as a kid, I looked up to Trevor Andrews. You know, he had the headphones in the bagginess, but other people looked up to, you know, whether it was Keir Dillon or Terrier or Daniel Frank, whatever it may be. There are those people from our world, and then skiing as well. Glenn Blake, man, Glenn Blake's still a fucking legend.
I know, dude.
You know what I
Still
mean?
a
Like, you
legend.
see that guy on the hill, and you're like, there's a legend.
Yeah.
You know, and he's
Totally.
still running the same game, sleeping in the parking lot. He's bust. Like,
Yeah.
that's a ski lord right there.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I think like Knuckle Huck really brought something fresh for X Games that was like really needed. I think just as fans, like we all just wanted that, right? We wanted to be able to see our favorite riders do their thing without trying to like adapt to a formula to get on a podium and just give us a great show. And it popped off. People love it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's awesome. I think it's really cool too because it's like not really meant to be a feature or a jump, and you get to watch like people adapt to it the way like a normal person would be riding the mountain and find like a little side hit and spin off it, or butter and then spin off it. So it really like gives everyone like this baseline of like how fun our sports really are and how wild they can be like on the improv and creativity wise.
Yeah. And speaking of creativity, and I just wanted to pivot here for a second, but you know, obviously you've got a big influence in skateboarding and snowboarding. And man, I like fuck. Sad year for a lot of reasons, but we lost a really, you know, cool person this year and one of your best friends and somebody me and Danny know in a long time. You know, R.I.P. to Jordan Brown, but how much influence did Jordan have on kind of you and, you know, your kind of outlook and style and where you're at in life now?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Brown, such a special guy. I mean, you guys that know both of us will have no doubt seen the influence that he had on me. Actually, Danny introduced me. Well, you connected Jordan and I first when, I mean, it was probably, I would have been maybe 17 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And Danny was like, yo, we want to get you on Grenade. I'm going to put you in contact with my team manager, Jordan. And so he linked us on an email. And then this is a pretty funny story when I met Jordan. I'm like standing in the lift line at Keystone, and this dude behind me just goes, hey, Jossi. And I look around, and it's just Jordan, blacked out, just got like this much of his face showing. And he's like, I'm Jordan Brown. We've been emailing. Danny put us in contact. I was like, oh, yeah, sick, man. And he's like, yeah, we should figure out getting you on the Grenade. I was like, oh, I'd love that, man. I've got an agent. I'll send you get you his information. Jordan's like, I don't deal with agents, bro. I was like, all right, man. Well, cool. I didn't really know what to
You're
say.
like, so I'll just do the deal then.
But yeah, from that moment, like, we just like kept linking up. Obviously, like just within the scene, we'd see each other around and whatnot, and then we just became really, really close friends. And then he started working for Monster Energy, and yeah, he was running the skate program over here for a long time, and you know, obviously being at all the events together, and then getting to hang out outside of our kind of retrospective work situations, we just became really, really close. And he's someone that I really looked up to. He was kind of like a big brother to me that I never had. I have 3 younger brothers. And yeah, Jordan was kind of this older brother figure who was, you know, kind of showing me what was what, showing me what was sweet. Coming from kind of a skate and snowboard background, he always had really cool insight and advice for me when it came to like my skiing. And he'd be like, yo, I've seen this, I saw this trick from this skateboarder the other day. Like, check this out. I think you could do something like similar like this. Or he'd watch a snowboard part and he'd be like, dude, what if you did something like this with this type of music? And he was really influential to me. And he was the first dude that like would just wear black every day that I saw him.
Yeah.
And I'd been through like my teenagehood, and it was like very publicized on the internet, and I went through a few phases.
Like tall tees,
yeah, bro,
tall
fully.
hoodies.
I was a skier.
Yeah,
like
but
16,
skiing,
you know?
man, like that was like Tanner Hall, like
know,
that. Like
dude.
you guys were raised by the tall tee.
Tall
It's still
tees
there.
and bright colors, bro. It was crazy. And then, after, I don't know, the first few times that I was chilling with Jordan, I'm like, man, this dude always looks tight. He's got 6D. And then I was like, word, I'm just gonna run black, Jordan. He's like, yeah, you should. And then that was just like me.
That's still him. Yeah, you should.
Yeah, you should, bro.
Yeah, his Steve was
yeah.
on point, man. He'd always
Yeah.
have like kind of like just enough little gel in the hair, kind of a vibe, but like very cool before like the GQ kind of like scene came about.
He was a cool guy, man. And then, as we grew up over the last, 15 years, he had a really bad knee injury, snowboarding, and had like a big rehab process that took him, year and a half, 2 years. And then I had a knee injury as well. And like we were kind of like going through these things, similar time. And so like he was riding a road bike a lot to rehab from his knee, and he kind of like motivated me to get a bike, and then I ended up blowing my knee like right after I got it, so it was kind of perfect. So I started riding bikes, and like Jordan, he really helped like focus me on like, if I want to continue doing the sport that I love to do, and to be able to get out there and ski whenever I want, to be able to go skating when I want, to jump on my snowboard when I want, like I have to be healthy, and I have to be able to like, my body has to withstand that, I've given it an absolute beating over the last 20 years. And so he was a big instigator in kind of my journey of starting to look after myself a lot better as well, so I can continue doing the stuff I love. So yeah, man, really, really influential guy to me. One of my dear friends. I had the privilege of marrying him and his wife, Jessica, like 3 years ago up at Berthoud Pass, just the three of us.
Wow.
We hiked up, I married them at the top, and then we just ripped pow for a couple laps. And it's like perfect sunny day in the backcountry. It was amazing. And his beautiful daughter, Esther, she's about 9 months old now. And I'm also a godfather. So, yeah, man, really rough time the start of this year. Super weird. But, going through that process with him and his family, yeah, it's like there's like a kind of a weird beauty in the whole thing, I mean, we're all gonna cark it at some point, we've got a finite existence walking here on this earth, and so to be able to be like confronted with that was something that's pretty interesting to go through, and there is kind of a beauty in it, along with the grief. And yeah, I don't know, anyone that's lost someone close, like it's just weird, man.
Yeah,
it's just a weird thing.
Man, he meant so much to so many people in this industry, from the snowboard industry to the skateboard industry and on, and it was one of those things that just happened really quick, so I didn't mean to deter, but I thought it would be good that, we spoke about Jordan a little bit.
Totally. He's the man.
First time I met him, it was on a yacht, on Bill's yacht, and Danny's like, this guy's working for us, and he walks out, takes all his clothes off, and just jumps in the ocean butt naked. And I was like, this guy?
Yeah. Yeah, I think one special thing about Jordan, too, that really kind of like left a mark on me that I'll always carry forward was like about having like really meaningful relationships, and not just always like, catering to the masses or the mass groups of your friends, but really making those connections within like the group you're with, and, the small conversations and like real connections. So definitely a good reminder, to always take friends, family, and love serious.
Yeah, totally. I mean, he was always so good at communication and like getting on the phone and giving you a call or sending you a text with like photos of what he was up to and stuff. I think partly it was because he was like despised social media, so he wasn't on it.
Yeah.
And so like for him to connect with his friends, it was like direct.
Yeah, it's real.
Whereas sometimes because like, I see what you guys are up to online, so I don't call you all the time.
Nah, that's just the way the world is. You see everyone all the time. You know exactly what everyone's doing. You know their routines.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fucking crazy, and you cannot see someone for a year, 2 years, and it's like you see them and nothing's changed because you're watching their life.
Yeah.
So the ones that aren't on social media are not partaking in that, and they're.
And I think it's better. You build a better bond when you're actually like talking with your friends. You know what I mean? And he was really good at doing that.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, we could go on forever about, the great man that he was and the influence that he had. But I think, like all the, he had a big influence through, our whole industry.
For sure.
All the different industries. And, those people listening that knew Jordan know how special he was. So,
Yeah,
man. R.I.P. to a legend, man. We
Yeah.
love you, brother.
for sure. All right, well, we're going to finish with Danny's. He's got his lightning round right here.
Lightning round.
We appreciate you, Jossi. Thank you for hanging.
Of course. Hit me.
Okay, so real quick, precursor. I know there's a huge hatred between Australia and New Zealand, but we won't get into that because that'll take for a whole nother episode. But who has better slang,
Oh.
Australia or New Zealand?
Aussie slang's probably goes harder, I think.
Yeah, we got him beat on that.
Yeah.
All right. What's the best part about? I don't think we can use any one of the slang words on this because they're all.
We got him beat though.
They're all bloody blank, bloody blank, bloody blank, bloody blank. What's the best part about being the oldest of four brothers?
Having 3 best friends built in.
What's the worst part?
Literally nothing.
What about go to air to throw over a big air jump?
What?
Go
Like
to
your
trick.
warm up. What's your warm up on a big air jump?
Probably hit like a 0 spin would be the go-to. I think that's my go.
If you were going to hit the X Games big air this year and show off a little bit, what would you throw down?
I'd probably do a 0 spin.
That's a 0,
That's
right?
like under
Yeah.
breath that both of you guys are
Switch
doing.
straight here.
That's kind of gnarly.
Yeah, but it's my favorite trick.
Switch straight air.
Yeah.
If you were going to have a rider's dream session, what riders would be there?
Ooh. Like a heli session, or what are we talking?
Yeah, heli
Is that
session.
Heli session. I mean, my brothers.
You're not in there, Dan.
I'm like,
My brothers and Dan.
that's what I wanted to hear. What's the key to a lasting career in snow sports?
Taking care of your frame.
Frame,
Yeah, the rig.
the rig.
Yeah.
You still do a lot of cycling?
I do a lot of cycling.
I see you do like savage cycling missions.
Yeah, I like cycling. I like doing bikepacking. Got into running. Yeah. I just like moving, dude. When I'm able to. When you have so many injuries doing these types of sports that like you don't get to move like quite a lot.
Right, yeah.
So like when I have learned just to like not take it for granted when you're healthy enough to be able to cycle and run and ski and skate, whatever, like just being able to really just take advantage of it.
I think also like we spend our time in a lot of cars and traveling and train so fast that you see the world a lot differently when you are on a bike or running. It's like a different
Honestly, dude,
pace.
bikepacking is like the best way to travel. You're fast enough, you cover good ground, but you're slow enough that you just get to experience places like
Yeah, wow.
it's such a unique pace, you know?
Do you have a personal doomsday bunker?
A doomsday bunker. No, but there's a whole bunch of them in Queenstown apparently.
I've heard.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a doomsday.
Yeah, there's
place?
there's a Vice doc on a dude that like came down from New York because they heard about all these doomsday bunkers from all the elite like around the world that own these spots in Queenstown, and he like did this like doco trying to find out where they were. Didn't find any.
You're not
But-
going to.
No.
Everyone
That's
wants
the
a
point
in it,
doomsday
right?
bunker
That's the
under
Yeah,
the key.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what are people worried about for doomsday in New Zealand? I feel like it's pretty.
I feel like
I think you're off the beaten path enough to where like if they're gonna come for you, you got plenty of warning.
I feel like all of New Zealand is a doomsday bunker.
Yeah.
Like it's just the spot to go.
Yeah.
Like we're good, you know?
Yeah.
feel that.
It doesn't need to be made of concrete. Like you're good. We'll grow some
It's
vegetables.
gonna take them longer to
Live off
get
the
there.
land.
You're
Fish
gonna
some
see them coming.
fish.
Well, you're gonna have to fight off a few million Australian people when shit hits the fan over there. Let's
We
be
got our
honest.
own. We got our own doomsday bunker.
Oh yeah, it's all built under Ayers Rock, right?
Yeah, no, it's in Ayers Rock. There's a secret door. I'll give-
those
all
are
right,
all
Dan, I'll
the
give you-
lightning questions
I'll
I
give-
have, but Brittney might have.
I'll give you the code.
Are you just? I'm gonna just off the whim give you a lightning question. Well, I'm gonna repeat What's on your playlist right now? What are you listening to?
My playlist.
See, that's the best one.
I've been listening to a lot of Fred again lately.
Okay.
This dude Jay Monty, pretty sick lyricist.
Do you like when you hear these? Are you taking like notes for your movies? You're just like, ooh, that song's gonna go.
Yeah, definitely.
Like that would be my favorite part about creating movies, like
Yeah.
picking the music.
Yeah.
It's really fun when you like hear a song. You're like, oh,
I can write
this
to
would be
that.
so cool with like this.
I got a snowboard
or
playlist.
this person.
I got a playlist.
Yeah.
Slam section.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's either like a really fun process or like really stressful.
Right.
Right.
Finding the right music. You want to start early for
Right.
sure, but definitely got a
Got a
playlist where you
playlist?
just kind of like add stuff every now and then.
That's
You're like,
what's
"Ooh,
up."
that's a nice one. Yeah, that's in my headphones.
There you go.
That's a wrap.
That's a
All right.
wrap.
Thanks,
yeah.
guys.
Thank you, Jossi.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stay safe, dude.